Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mystical Awakenings right here on KGRA. Um, the last 2 weeks we have had pre-recorded shows because RJ was working on some health issues and is now on the road to recovery. So tonight we're live again. Big thanks to our amazing producer, Bill Forte, for taking care of things and running those other shows so we could deal with health issues. Um, we're really excited to be here tonight. You know, there's so many people who like to interview the Travis Waltons of the world, and that's great. That's wonderful. But we really love interviewing, experiencers that people have not talked to or really heard of because it's not out there yet. We like to get those true raw stories.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are coming out now that are what we call experiencers, and so we've actually called this the year of the experiencer. And like she says, it's good to hear these people coming out and telling their stories. I think it's very important.
So important, so important. And that's why we also do the voices of contact on Friday nights. So we have a very cool young lady with us. She will be telling her own story.
Yeah.
Who do we have?
Well, tonight we have a lady named Kim Pagett. She is a Michigander, we found out. So are we. And, I could read this bio, but I'll tell you what, she has a lot to go through and a lot to tell us. She's also a medium and experiencer, and she's had a lot of experiences in all the fields of the paranormal. And so without further ado, let's introduce her and have her tell her story. Hi.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
So nice
I
of you
like
to
that.
join us.
Thank you. I like what you said, young lady. I'll be 60 next month.
Well,
I like
you're
that,
younger,
though.
You're younger than I am. So
Yeah, I'll take it.
I like it too.
Take the compliments when they come.
60s are like the new 30s.
I like to hang
We're
around
good.
elderly women, so yeah.
There you go. Oh, there you go.
I've got you both beat, trust me.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
So Kim, you have a lifelong history with paranormal and
Yep. Yeah.
abilities and
Experiences.
even UFO experiences. And part of what we want to focus on tonight is getting that information out there. We so appreciate experiencers who are willing to talk, because this, as RJ said, this is the year of the experiencer. And it's the experiencers that are truly bringing disclosure, because people are finally, able to step up and talk openly and honestly about what happened to them. So,
yeah, for an example, we put on the Michigan UFO Contact Convention, and we had a gentleman on Fridays. They can get up and tell their story, but he was almost 70 years old. He never told the story at all. It was the first time. So,
quite emotional.
Yeah, it's quite emotional, and we're just so happy people can come out and tell their stories, because it's very important.
Yeah,
it shows that we're not crazy. There's other people.
Yeah, this is a
there.
big thing, and it's happening to a lot of people.
Well, millions and millions of people, honestly. I mean, once in a while we get people that come into our store and say, well, I don't believe in any of that stuff, but there was this one time. And then they they kind of whisper it like they don't want anyone to hear. So even people who haven't had experiences have seen something. Many of them.
Yeah, they're not just satellites that you think they're out there. There's other things out there.
Right. So
that reminds me of something I want to bring up to you later.
Okay.
How about would you like to start with your experience when you were 15?
I can start there. I was living in the country part of Holly, Michigan. I lived on Fish Lake on Big Trail. And there was a big cornfield that was my front yard. And my friend who lived across and to the right friend lived over there, and he would come get me randomly, during the week or in the summer on the nights or days. It didn't matter. We're always together. And so he picked me up around midnight so we can just listen to the music and, sit outside, whatever. We just walked. And I felt this presence behind me while we were walking, started walking on my dirt road there on Big Trail. And I know everybody on Big Trail is going to say, I don't want to live there anymore. I should probably not said the address, but I'm just trying to be detailed of where I was. I felt this presence behind me, and it was so strong. It made me turn around. Like, when you ever have that feeling that somebody's just like right behind you in a line, you're just like, get off me. That's what it felt like. It was just something right behind me. And I looked, and then across the cornfield was the UFO, and it was ginormous. I just remember being far from it, but I could see the lights and I could see the silhouette of it, a little bit. And I told my friend, I said, I think this thing is over your house. It's a UFO, I think. What do you think? And I started running, and I felt this thing was just chasing me. I couldn't stop running.
So and you were running away.
I was running away from this thing because I knew it wasn't like normal, So my friend he caught up with me, and we ran into the woods, and we went into the shed. It was dilapidated, but it didn't have a door, but it had the 3 walls to make you feel safe enough, I guess.
Right.
And I don't know how long we were in there, but I put my head out, and everything turned quiet. Like the crickets stopped, the frogs stopped. Living on a lake in the summer, you know all the sounds. You can almost hear like worms move.
Right.
It's just here in the country, you hear everything.
Right.
And everything just stopped, and it freaked me out. And so did the UFO. Like, that was quiet. It was hovering right over us. And I still get chills talking about this, and I don't really talk about it this much. This is just my second interview. But I remember it was about 150 feet above me, and the lights going around and around, and it was mesmerizing. And I had a quick thought thinking maybe I was going to be beamed up. Right. I was kind of waiting for that, actually. But I just remember being terrified and being curious at the same time. Like, this is so cool, but I might die.
No,
Kim,
you drew a picture of it, right?
I did. I sent that to you of what the craft looked like.
Yeah. Let's see if we can pull that up. Here it is.
Yep. There it is.
So those lights underneath were going round and around, right?
They were going around and around. It kind of reminded me of the Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Right.
Ship, but it wasn't that big. But it had the lights going around just like that. I can't even draw like stick people, so that's the best I could do for a UFO.
That's a good idea, yeah, for sure. But you said it was about a half a football field long, right?
It was about a half a football field wide, and
so 150 feet. Yeah, it's big.
150 feet above me, so it took up most of the sky. I was able to see the peripheral, but I remember looking kind of like it was like on a tilt almost because I saw the dome and I saw the windows, and they were like outward, and it was like the brightest light inside there. I didn't see any like little green men or anything like being like with a steering wheel. I didn't see anybody. I just saw complete, like the brightest white light, like it was like the power or something. I can't even describe it. Just white. Right. And it was just so extremely quiet. I mean, you can hear a pin drop, like seriously. And I'm trying to, as I'm talking to you now, I'm trying to see if I can get more detail, but I remember it was silver metallic for sure. It was definitely silver. I can only tell that because of the light bouncing off the ground from the lights from the craft. It was going back up. So you can see it was super shiny, kind of like a dull shiny, not like shiny, but like a matte shine.
And you heard no sound from this thing, right?
There was no sound, and I didn't I didn't see any engines. I didn't see any propellers. I mean, I was 15, so I'm trying to. I was scared, but I was curious at the same time,
Right.
and I didn't know how it was getting powered. I thought it was from the white light in the dome. That's what was in my head when I woke up that next morning. But so I remember just staring at it, and then just like that, I woke up in my bed. I don't have any memory of walking home, carried home. I don't know how my friend got home. I don't know if he was okay. Um, it was the strangest thing. And I woke up. I didn't know then to look at marks because somebody asked me if I had marks, but I didn't know to look at the time.
Right.
But I had full memory of what happened to me, and I just put like in a little box in my brain, like, well, maybe we'll just figure this out later, And I was going to talk to
Right.
my friend to see if he remembered anything, and then I kind of want to know, but then again, I didn't want to know. While my friend showed up, he came over that morning, that late, that for lunch. I didn't say anything, and he didn't say anything. So I'm like, I don't know if he was scared, but he was acting like he didn't remember anything.
Right.
And so I was scared enough, like I didn't want to know anymore. So I didn't ask him. I didn't ask him till just a couple of years ago because we're still friends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Sometimes it's easier to pretend nothing happened.
yeah, I mean, I've had a supernatural life, but this was a little different. I've never had, I don't know, but I do have a lot of childhood memory loss. Oh, my phone keeps moving. So I don't know if that is from frequently, being abducted, but I have maybe a dozen memories of childhood. That's it. That's all I have.
Wow.
So I don't know if that's part of being abducted or being a
Hmm.
contactee. I don't know.
Right, right. Well, even in saying, you remember everything that happened that night,
Yes,
you remember it, but you don't remember how you got home.
I have no
And
memory
you
how
were
I got
just
home.
home. So most likely, and we understand how that happens. Um, Most
Yeah,
likely you had missing time and
right.
were taken. And you don't remember that part.
I
They're
have
really
no
good
memory.
at erasing memory.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
it seems, Kim, we talked about regression.
Yes. I was
And
going to get it done, but I do have PTSD from a lot of paranormal, scary things I've been through.
mhm,
I've been like psychically attacked. I've had all kinds of things thrown at me, and so I have to get cleared by my therapist before I can get to regression because I still have other stuff I got to go through.
Okay.
But I forgot. I think Mary. She seems so
yes,
nice. I
Mary
can't wait to
Bassett.
get a regression done with her.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be seeing somebody next week just to get me cleared from it. I personally think I'm okay with it, but I have to have a
Mhm.
professional tell me it's okay.
Right, because sometimes the memories that we find
Yeah,
can, knock our socks off.
And believe it or not,
yeah.
you triggered a memory for me. I was camping in the campground in Holly, Michigan. What was the name of that?
There's
Seven
Seven
Lakes.
Lakes. Yeah,
Yeah, I was in Seven Lakes in the late '90s, and sitting around the fire, and I was watching the satellite. I thought going across the sky, and then it just shot straight up,
yeah,
and like
yeah.
we both of us saw it, and then we kind of reported it to the people that were working there, and all of a sudden a gentleman came and says, "Hey, you guys saw the UFO," and they were explaining this incident at Seven Lakes where this UFO came in and lit up the lake and lit up the park, and he was really, he was a young kid and he was scared,
Wow,
and
wow.
so that you reminded me that I did have an experience in Holly, so
And I
near
was
Holly.
like, from Seven Lakes, where I lived when I was 15. This was back in like 78. I was 15. So Seven Lakes would have been about 5 to 8 miles from me.
Okay, okay,
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's
I mean,
really not that far.
yeah, there's been some sightings in that area for sure. It's
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to move back there. That's where I'm from.
Hmm.
Maybe it's
Well, I
calling
mean,
me back.
honestly, there are sightings everywhere. Michigan has a lot of sightings. We really
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
I don't
So
think there's
I'm
any place to hide.
right. Well, when I talk with my friend who was with me back in '78, I asked him a couple years ago, and he doesn't have any memories of any kind of UFO encounters, but he remembers being in the shed with me. And that's it. He doesn't have any memory of the event. He doesn't remember losing time. But he did tell me, which is really strange. He did tell me though that he does have feline alien aliens visiting him at night.
So the
They're like
Lyrians,
cat-like.
Lyrians, the
Mhm.
The Lyrans, yeah, or
Lyrans,
whatever,
yeah,
yeah.
Lyrans, yeah. The great
So
Walrus.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you
yeah, I don't
both
know if
have a
it's good, but
connection.
it's
Yeah,
like a
they're good.
sexual nature thing. So I don't know how good that is, but anyway, that's they visit him in that way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're good. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
um, yeah, that's amazing. Now,
he had no
I had,
complaints.
yeah, I had a similar big
Sorry.
experience when I was 19,
Yeah.
a missing time experience, and I was with a friend, and this friend of mine, to this day, said that he just accepted swamp gas because that was going on at the time in the 70s, and
Okay.
but that's how they just wanted to forget about it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of reminds me of it could have been a Lyran who I met. I know I'm probably going ahead of myself, but who
Oh,
I
that's
saw
fine.
in 2012. So um, we can get to that too whenever you want.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So, it's interesting that at this point in your life, then you had another big experience in 2012, and you're remembering, okay, now there's many times that I don't remember something happening. Um, so it's,
Well, okay. 2012, I remember I was in my body. I remember everything. As soon as
uh-huh.
they dropped me back into my bed, I remember, well, I don't know, they could have done some shady stuff. I don't know, but I remember being inside the ship and talking. So,
Do you remember what
yeah,
what the conversation was?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
let's fast forward time then. Now, was there
Okay,
anything
so
anything between 2012 and when you were 15?
not with UFOs.
Okay. Okay,
No.
we'll get some of that later. Okay, so let's go to the
Okay, yeah. I mean,
2012.
I've got a lot of beautiful moments of, spirit in me and
Yeah,
things happening. But so 2012, I was really getting into like, meditations and psychic classes and, 2011, 2012. And I just got done seeing a shaman. I don't know if you know, am I supposed to say names here? I don't know.
yeah, that's
Anyway,
fine.
it's a male. Do you know Shaman Joe Paul? I don't know if you know him, but
I don't.
he did a lot of work on me. And I remember him telling me, he says every time you get a healing, you always have ET tracking devices in your aura. And I'm like, why? He goes, they like you. That's all that he told me. Every time I would go for a healing, because people were throwing cords at me, and it was crazy. And so every time I would go, he's pulling out 300 to 500 ET device tracking devices in my energy field. So it's crazy. So one night, when he finished, I went to bed that night, and I felt so light. My energy was so crystalline. It was like there was no cord. I was completely clear of anything crappy, And I remember getting like a laser beam to my heart and to my knee. I couldn't see the laser, but I felt it, and it was like, and it was going to my left knee, which I had a bad knee surgery that didn't go so very well. And I'm shaking. I'm like, thank you for my healing. I was hoping that's what they were doing.
Right.
Mhm.
And it was the craziest thing. And my husband was next to me, and I said, is anything weird? Do you see anything weird going on with me? He said, no, you're just laying there trying to sleep, I thought. But this is, I'm feeling all this. And all of a sudden I felt like I was getting pulled out of my body, and it was coming out of my chest or my, like, I don't know, my heart chakra area, maybe a little bit lower than that. And I was feet first floating out of my body, and I'm going down my hallway in my home. I'm like, this is really weird. This is not flying when
Right.
I was 5, because I was flying at 5. I was floating feet first. And then all of a sudden, I get sucked up. And here I am coming through like an MRI machine. It's the only way to describe it. It's like I was coming through, like, how those MRIs are like, they're like a little tunnel.
Yeah.
I was feet first, and I was right on top of a conveyor belt. The conveyor belt was below me, and I was just above it. And my feet were first. I was going along with the conveyor belt. I wasn't laying on it. I wasn't tied to anything. I just remember going with the flow forward, but my feet were first. And I sent you a picture of that as well,
I
of
can
what
pull
I
that up.
saw.
You see that
Yeah.
now?
So that would be number 2.
Yeah.
That one right there. Yep, that's the one.
So
So to the left of me, there were about four people, and the right of me, there were 4 people, 4 to 5 people. And the one lady to the left of me, I remember her to this day. She had shorter blonde hair, parted down the middle, and she was just looking at me. They all looked human. They all had normal eyes. And I was starting to get scared because I'm trying to kick and scream, but I had no body. I was like, where's my legs? Where's my legs? Where's my arms? I was freaking out.
So your consciousness, your soul was taken,
I
but
was
not your
Kim.
body.
I was Kim all the way. My consciousness is like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Where's my legs? Where's my feet? Where's my hands? And then anyway, I come to a halt, and there's a guy, which I drew. It's like a really bad stick version, but he's at the end of my feet, and he had a doctor smock on. You can see it at the top there. And I was looking for a name. I'm like, who is this guy? I'm all curious. Like, I want to collect some data. Like, where am I? I'm like, am I dead? Is this the afterlife? Is this all there is? And so he looked at me, and I'll never forget it. He had this smile on his face, and he says, Kim, you don't remember me? And I'm like, get me out of here. Who are you? What am I here for? I was just kicking and screaming. I go, where's my leg? Because I needed to defend myself, I thought. And he wasn't like aggressive in any way. He seemed very friendly. But when I looked closer to him, he had one eye. It was completely human. And the other eye had a slit in it. So it could have been a feline, could have been reptilian. I have no idea. But he was a short guy. He could have been like 5 foot, but he looked like he was from India. He had that skin color. And I heard when I was on Michigan Bigfoot Rob, there was somebody that there is a race out there that these ETs, they do look like they're from India, and they're short in stature.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Zeta to me.
Or they could have been Mayan, maybe. They could have been Mayan.
Yeah. I heard my talk or something, or something talk. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is all new to me. Like, I'm just now, expressing what I've gone through, and I'm starting to get some data back. I just want answers,
Right.
But he was kind. And I'm asking for my grandma, who died like 30 years ago. I want my grandma. Where is she? I was acting like I was 5. I was so petrified. Because I couldn't get out of there. I was so frozen, and I had no control over my body, and that really made me mad.
Right.
And then I looked past him, and I saw the windows, and it all clicked. They were going outward. I got goosebumps again talking about it. So the windows were going outward, and I'm like, this is the same ship from when I was 15, without a doubt. And the whole room, as I'm looking around, was completely white, like bright, bright white. Like somebody just painted it white. and I'm looking for the controllers, and they could have been fake looking. I don't know. There was knobs and levers, but there was no data collecting. I mean, it kind of looked like a set or a prop, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. It
Mhm.
didn't
Yeah.
look functional at all. Maybe it was just for me. I don't know.
Right.
But I was definitely at the top of the UFO because I remember the windows matching exactly what they looked like when I was outside the UFO in '78.
Yeah.
So that was a very strange experience. So after I'm kicking and screaming, I remember just like bloop, being plopped back down into my bed. So I don't know what happened, if anything happened since then, like before me plopping into bed and me kicking and screaming, asking to get out. So
Mhm.
they could have just shut me down and did whatever they needed to analyze.
Right.
I have no
So,
memory of that.
so do you think that perhaps the people on the ship were from different races, different?
It's the strangest thing when you ask that because I looked at them and they all looked like that you would see them at a concert or something. They just looked like they were normal
Crowd?
human
Yeah.
beings. Yeah,
Yeah.
unless they were dead, but like dead souls. But I can't describe it except that they don't look no different than you and me. They just look like regular human beings. The only
Right.
person that looked different was the doctor who had the smock on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Everybody looked normal, but they weren't talking. They had just like a Stepford wife look. They were just looking at me blankly.
Right.
Now, when
Right.
they talked, you said they didn't talk to you, or they talked to you? They did talk
So
to you.
yes, he did talk to me when he said, Kimberly, what's the matter? You don't remember me? And this was all telepathic because our mouths were not
That's
moving.
what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
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 I don't think I had a mouth. If I didn't have arms or legs, I don't. But my brain, I think, was talking. I was kicking and screaming, but his mouth didn't move when he was speaking to me. He was
Okay.
like, and he seemed so genuine. You know, um, I just don't like not having control of being, you know, on this conveyor belt thingy, and I couldn't move. I was scared because I had no power.
Right. Right.
That's why I wanted out of there.
Mhm.
But it was all telepathic, and I'm just looking at I was more interested with the people on the left, but I circled that one stick figure that I drew who stood out. um it was definitely a woman, which I think she was a walk-in to me later the next night, but
Oh,
I don't know why she stands out to me so much, but the other ones just seem to kind of blend in with my memory,
Mhm.
but she
right.
sticks out.
Okay. So she may be
Yeah.
somebody who's with you more often and you don't even know it.
Well, the very next night, I went to bed, and my husband and I, we decided that we weren't going to make it anymore, and I had to get a divorce, and it was really sad because I really loved the guy, but it just wasn't working out, and I was crying and crying and crying, and that kind of crying, that soul
Right.
cry, and I heard this voice, didn't see her, but she was standing probably about 3 feet from me from my bed, and she said, "Who are you?" And I said, "My name is Kim Dost." It was Kim Dost at the time. I said, "I'm a medium. Can I help you?" Because I'm used to, trap souls. Go on home. I'll help you. I'll walk you there. And then I felt something come into the top of my head, and I shook like, when you have the flu for like 20 minutes. I was shaking like I had a fever. Didn't have a fever. I felt the energy going into my body and throughout my body, and I couldn't stop shaking. I'm like, am I possessed? I didn't know. I didn't know. But she never left. I never felt her leave. Um, I've seen a lot of Christians, they try to exorcise them out. It
Right.
doesn't
Right.
work. So I
Right.
don't know if it's supposed to be a walk-in, which I know I do believe in walk-ins trying to finish their whatever they got to do here. But
Right.
after that night, my abilities seem to have kicked in more.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because we talked a little bit
Yeah.
before the show about,
Yeah.
it's not uncommon for people who have been taken or have that kind of an experience to all of a sudden, especially if they
Right.
already have abilities, those abilities become very enhanced.
Yeah.
And
They
that's
sure
what happened.
did. Yes, I'll tell you that. That's for sure. I wasn't expecting it at all.
Now,
Excuse me.
I suppose we should go back to your childhood and try to figure out how this got all kicked off and what you experienced back then.
I would love if we can just, nitpick my childhood to see maybe you, with your insight, you can say, well, this is what I think happened, because I don't even have that. I mean, I was on one podcast because he was interested in my story, but I still am looking like what happened to me, why,
Yeah.
my sister and I both have lack of childhood memories, but we had childhood neglect as well. So that could play a part in that, of that, loss of memory. But I still think it's partly, paranormal myself, or UFO-ish.
Right.
Before I forget, though, I wanted to ask: has any other your family members had experiences with UFOs and extraterrestrials?
If they have not told me.
Okay, because that seems to be a common thing that whole family experiences. Yeah.
I'm not sure if my sister did or not, and if she did, she probably wouldn't tell me anyway, because
Okay.
she's very gifted, but I don't think she would say, yeah.
Oh.
She'd be like, I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's how she is. She's very reserved on that.
All right. So let's go back. You're
okay.
I think you're 5.
I'm 5, and I was just going in, almost 6, going into 1st grade, and I was almost 6, but I was in 6th grade, I should say. And one night, which is clear as day, I fell asleep and I was flying like Superman. Like I was going up and down. I didn't feel a cape or anything, but I sure felt like, well, I don't know if there was Superman back in, gosh, this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 68. Sorry. And so I don't know what superheroes we had back then, but I remember going through my window, and all of a sudden I'm on my way to school, and my friends are walking. So I think it was a different dimension. But all my friends are walking. I'm like, look at me. I'm going up and down. I'm going up 6 feet in the air. Then I'm swooping back down. I'm just like, how low can I go? Right. And I was just like a couple inches from the sidewalk, and I'm having a blast. I've never experienced that. It was the coolest thing ever. I'm talking to my friends, and they're ignoring me. And I'm like, I'm right here. Come on, try this, run and jump, and they weren't even responding to me. So
can I ask you something?
Absolutely.
All right. When you had your experience flying, was there an energy coming out of a certain part of your body that was helping you, like from the midsection?
I felt I was doing it.
Okay.
I felt it was me. I wasn't feeling somebody was making me fly. I felt like I was in the moment as flying.
Okay.
I want to say real quick, Bill Forte,
sure.
Our producer, said if anybody wants to ask a question, post it in all caps, and he'll put it up for us. And then
hopefully a lot of my friends are watching too. I'm like, you gotta watch this, guys.
post it in caps, all capital letters, and he'll put it up. So okay.
So you're flying, you're going to school and you're flying, you're trying to tell people, hey, look at this, you can do it.
And they're not responding. I'm like, come on, I'm right here. Look. And then all of a sudden, boom, I was back in my body. I woke up in the morning and I was so mad. Wow. I was like, I want to keep flying. I am back in this ugly looking body thing. I'm heavy. The flying was amazing. And I always tried to fly after that. I never had that experience since. Not that type of flying.
Right. Not the type that you were controlling. When you had the experience in 2012, you were.
Yeah. And I've had.
Controlled. Yeah.
Right. I've had other astral things, but they've been very slow. And I'm just kind of looking around and nothing like zooming. And really, I was so full of energy. Like I was 5, almost 6. So I felt like that boosted me, like, look at me. And now when I astral travel, it's like, look at this old girl. Let's just start, walking with your astral projection.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so slow.
Right. Right.
Now, did you tell anybody you had that experience?
I don't remember telling my grandmother because my grandparents raised me, but I at that time I told her later. She goes, "Oh yeah, that's astral projection," and
Right.
I think I told her when I was in my teens, and she followed like Shirley Maclean and the law of attraction
Oh
and
yeah.
Yeah.
healing your own body, and they're from England, so they didn't really like pharmaceuticals. They were all more like into herbs and natural stuff, and
Right.
so it fit right in, but
Right.
it was I still reminisce on that feeling because it was so freeing,
Yeah.
it was so freeing.
Yeah. I had a similar experience where I was doing that and trying to. My brother and my friend was in that where I was at, and I was trying to tell him, "Hey, look at it! I watch this." And up the wall and across the ceiling. I said, "You guys can do this." I did the same thing. You can do this. Come on, do it. So
Did they
I
see you?
understand. Huh?
Did they see you do it? Or
Yeah, they saw me
did they?
do it, but
Okay.
that it was the same experience. And I was trying to tell them, "Hey, this is cool. Let's do it." And so,
Yeah. I wish my friends saw me. It just seemed like as you get older and you kind of learn about parallel lives and dimensions and stuff like that, you kind of wonder, that what realm was I in? How come my friends didn't see me, but I had that
Right.
feeling of just
right,
and seeing and the sensation of flying. It was
Mhm.
right,
up and down and fast and backwards. It was the coolest thing.
Yeah, I did it as a young person as well, and we're always looking for the commonality with
Yeah.
experiencers, and
Hmm.
it's interesting how many of us have had that experience due to astral travel,
yeah,
grew up with abilities or a family of spirituality. My family was very religious, but my mother was a closet medium.
Okay.
So
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, the backgrounds are very similar for many,
Yeah.
many of us.
I
Um,
remember when my great grandma died, we got a call. I was there with her before they wheeled her out because my great grandma, she lived with us for a while. Then she went to her other daughter's house in
mhm.
Wyandotte. And I loved it when she lived with us because I always heard her stories of her, doing readings on palms and things like that. It was the coolest thing. And she was an opera singer. She just had a really
Oh,
cool life.
wow.
She was a
nice.
badass too. She was awesome. And she didn't take any crap from anybody.
Love it.
And I know. And you can see her picture when she's 22. You could just feel, the power
Mhm.
of the independence that she carried.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
my
So,
sister and I'm sorry.
do you know if she ever had any sightings or
Yeah, well,
experiences with
oh yeah, let me tell you this story. Okay,
that's
so
yeah.
this is really cool. I was with her. We went to I got goosebumps. So she might be with me. She's so cool. We went to the Salem witch house, and I was like 8 or 9, and she was first in line, and I was right behind her. I might have been younger because I was almost a little bit to her waist. So, and my sister was behind me, and my grandma was behind my sister. So there were four of us. She took like 2 or 3 steps in there, and she just started like going into like this kind of shake trance thing. I it freaked me out because I've never seen her do that before. And she goes, "Oh my gosh!" She's freaking out. She's like, "The death of these women. Oh, the pain, the pain. I can feel the pain. Oh, it's not just what they've done." And it was just, and I got still getting weird about it, but um, she, she must have been an empath too because she started crying. She started going into this shaking, and she was getting very nauseated. So
Hmm.
she told the person who got her, we got her tickets from, said, "I have to leave." So the train of us went right behind her, and I'm like, "What's going on, Gran? What's going on?" And she says, "Your great grandmother is reacting to the spirits that are still here walking, and there was a lot of women that were burned here." I didn't know about witches at the time until you're older and you hear the story.
Right.
We went to a witch house, but what's that? I mean, what is that? So, but I just remember she was like, I think I'm going to be violently ill. She felt the pain of all these women that were burned.
Mm.
And she
Was
kept
this
on
in
saying,
Michigan?
this is in
Salem.
Salem Witch
Oh,
House.
Sam.
This is
Oh,
in
Sam. I'm sorry. I didn't
Massachusetts.
hear that. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And they were just talking like it was no big deal. Like this is something that, what your great grandma can do. So
Right.
I didn't see any other experiences like that because we didn't really travel much, but just hearing her stories that she was a palm reader and,
Right.
and she was very intuitive and, things like that. And then,
Mhm.
so I always kind of respected her and I always thought that she was super special. So I was very close to her when she lived with us for a few years. But the day she died, the night she died, my grandma took my sister and I over there to visit her, and she was in her bedroom and she had a really bad headache. The bedroom was really dark. And I remember I had McDonald's fries in my hands and I offered her one to make her feel better. And it's like yesterday. And she said, no, but please get your Aunt Joyce here. I need some aspirin for my headache. And the last thing I remember is them wheeling her out. And she was alive when they wheeled her out of the ambulance.
Right.
So my grandma took my sister and I back home, back to Dearborn. And it was just a few hours later we got the call because we were waiting to hear what happened to my great grandma Dora. The phone rings, and on the other end of the phone is my great grandma's dog. It's howling.
Jeez.
And my grandma said, well, this is strange. And I said, what? She goes, Harvey's howling. This is Harvey. I know Harvey's howl.
Mhm.
And I said, what's going on? And then she says, your great grandma passed. This is her way of saying that she made it home. I go,
Right.
is she back home? Like, like home? And
Right. 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 Yeah.
she meant like heaven home.
Right.
And so she hung up because I heard the dog howl. I had to hear it for myself. And so when she hung up the phone 2 minutes later, my Aunt Joyce called, which was my grandma's sister, and said, our mom just died. And and my grandma said, that was confirmation. She was
Right.
letting us know that she made it. I go,
Right.
that's
Right.
so cool. Like, having
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
message from her dog howling, but nobody was at her house. Nobody. And because they were all at the hospital with her except the dog.
Right.
Yeah, that was
So
actually like a Twilight Zone episode where there was the phone
was it?
call and the grandma was talking to this kid and after she passed and
Oh
yeah,
wow. I do
yeah,
remember the one about her husband died and he was calling from the grave and that
yeah,
telephone line was touching his grave or something.
yeah.
But it was the coolest thing ever. But that stuff, I mean, my grandma and I would go on Ouija boards, and I mean, we had all kinds of experiences. So when she said that, it's just paranormal. It's a normal way of living. That's what I felt when I
Right.
saw the UFO at 15. It's like it's unusually normal,
Mhm. Right.
if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, there is a question. If Bill could pop that up on the screen, that would be awesome.
Sure.
There we go.
I can't see
From
it at all.
Tamara Lynn. She says,
Tammy, you know her.
Oh, hi,
You know
Tammy.
Tamara.
How did your abilities improve after the encounter?
Um, well, I saw spirits more. I had more visitors coming to me. Around that time, when I decided that I was going to get a divorce, 2 nights later, I had this dream. This visitor came. You'll love this. This is so cool. So, he was in a wool coat, and I'm in this little I'm in this little race car, and it had black and white checkered road. I'm going in and out of this tunnel. I'm going super fast, kind of like flying, but I'm in this car, and I ended up on the bottom of this escalator, and I'm looking up, and this guy was so hot. And he said, I'm in Florida. And I'm like, well, one door closes, one opens, right? Maybe that's, and I'm like, Florida, okay, and that was it. And then poof, he left. So let's move 8 months later. So I ended up, having to leave my husband, and I was homeless for a while. I ended up in Ohio, and I befriended the next door neighbor where I was staying for a couple months. And we got along. She was the coolest friend. And I just I'm a medium. She goes, oh my God, that's so cool. And I started giving her a reading. And I said, do you know a Hal or a Harry? And she said, that's my stepfather. His name was Harry, but he went by Hal. I'm like, wow, I'm freaking out. So, because I still freak out. I'm still weird about that. So I gave her the reading about this sketchy guy who disappeared, who was into gambling on races and stuff like that, but he's passed. And I described him. She goes, I'm going to get you a picture. I want you to see who you're talking about. And I looked at him. She goes, you told me about this dream a couple nights ago. Is that the guy? I go, Dad, that's your stepdad right there.
Oh, wow.
So we both freaked out. So Tamra, that I've had a lot more visitations. I mean, some have not been very friendly, but some have been friendly. I had no idea I was going to go to Ohio. It's out of my realm now. It's not even my choice because it's not my life anymore. At that time, I thought. But
right.
So I have more. Yeah, I actually saw. It was a few months after that. I saw a woman came to me, but I was her. And I saw this man with a machete, all bloody, and he was killing her. And I was the dead person who came to me. And it was the scariest thing. And what it was about was the victim who died was warning one of my clients who was dating this guy who was in Jackson prison.
Oh, wow.
And I said, you need to stay away from him. And I don't even want to talk to you until you're away from that guy, because she came to me to warn you.
Right.
And if you don't heed that, then I can't be around you. I don't ever want, that's part of my PTSD, to be honest with you. I mean, I literally witnessed and was murdered, through that. So some things were really cool. And some things I didn't want, but it all escalated since 2012, for sure.
Yeah.
I saw black shadows and all kinds of things, black, like a demon thing.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting how many people with abilities have missing time or experiences like this, and their abilities are enhanced. And then sometimes we run into people who had no abilities or didn't know they had abilities, but once they have experiences, realize, oh my gosh, I'm hearing people talk to me, I'm seeing things.
Yes.
And,
so it's they definitely talk to me. About 3 years ago, I was over in Saginaw at the emergency vet clinic, and 2 dogs literally started talking to me. I'm like, okay, that's it, I'm crazy.
Well, that's the best.
It was the coolest experience, though. It really was. A dog even had a British accent. It was so cool.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It wasn't an English bulldog, right?
No, it was a King Charles Spaniel.
Oh, okay.
And they're only from England. And he was sophisticated too. Oh man, I could be on your show forever. I have so many cool things that happened to me because of the abilities that I got.
Right. Well, sadly, we're down to like 4 minutes. But
okay. Oh my gosh! Already, that was so fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
But I want to know, Kim, since your experience, especially the one in 2012, did that impact your life in a negative way at all? I mean, how did it impact your life? Because I know it makes a difference for all of us. Every person who has that kind of an experience.
Yeah. I'll tell you this that experience opened up so many doors for me that I wasn't living authentically. I had blinders on. I refused the red flags. of what I was seen to be around certain people. I let things go, and I was a people pleaser. Um, this this opened the doors to me of what I was allowing into my life that wasn't really acceptable for my highest good, if you will. So I totally respect everything what I've been through. It's been hard, but it's gotten me stronger too. And I've met some really cool people along the way that has been there for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked at the Secretary of
Yes.
State for many, many years, and I couldn't go back. But to that,
Thank you,
when you're a
Kathy.
medium, you can't really go back.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
Okay, here's another question
oh,
yeah.
from Robinette. Kim, do you have
Oh,
any plans for adding haunting investigations to your new channel?
I've done all that. No, I mean, I have a friend, Vanna. She's a shaman, and we like to clear homes and send people back home, to the light who are
Mhm.
trapped.
yeah,
Yeah,
But I'm not really into ghost hunting unless I can help
me
them,
too.
right.
move on.
Right. Yeah. And, with RJ and I, and we've noticed with some other people too, the paranormal has always been who we are. We've done years of
Yeah,
research and investigation,
it's
but it's
fun getting
almost like,
evidence. Yeah.
right. But once you realize there are other realms that are very connected, it's different. It's harder to
Hmm.
You look at it different, yeah.
be
Yeah.
just a ghost hunter. Does that make
Oh, yeah.
sense?
I did that for a couple of years, and it was a lot of fun. It
Yeah,
really
we did
was.
it for like 36 years.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, but I went unprotected, didn't know any better. I brought things home that I definitely regret. So, but I respect it now to know about protection and things like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, real quick, Kim,
Yeah,
what do you think's going on here with all this experience? What's the
I think it's
plan?
just who I am. I think I'm just here to experience everything from where I'm from in a way. People said, these are demonic, this is this and that. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like there's so many different dimensions out there. There's more than black and white. I've always lived in the gray since coming into this world. I can't accept black and white.
Right,
Right.
I live too much in the gray. So
right,
there's different realms, different dimensions, and I think there's just different alien races that we're all just trying to get along, to be
right.
honest with you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
That's my theory anyway.
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
respect that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we really, really thank you for being
Oh,
on. We hope to do
thank
it
you so
again.
much.
Stay in contact. And if you decide to, if when you have that regression and you want to
Yes.
talk more about it, please feel free to contact us. And
I will
Absolutely.
definitely do that.
All right.
yeah, yeah.
Well, thanks so much, and it was
Yeah.
a pleasure hearing your story. Thanks for putting that out there for people to hear. Very
You're
brave of
welcome.
you, and I appreciate it, and we all appreciate it. Thank you
Well,
so much.
welcome
Thank
to the
you so
Weirdo
much for
Club.
having me. Yeah, thank you.
We'll do it again soon. And to all of you out there, have a wonderful week. We love you all. And until we meet again, may all of your awakenings be mystical. Good night.
Good night.